We've got Michaela joining us from the Barnardo's team to share her learning from working with parents and carers across Surrey. And we hope that that's going to lead to some increased knowledge and confidence amongst people in this group. But also a big part of this, the skills sharing session, and what we really want to achieve with these is creating a space where we can meet new colleagues and learn from each other, access to problem solving together. For those of you that have attended the Surrey Downs COP, for example, Community of Practice event back in December at Fairfield School, hello again. So the skill sharing sessions are a bit of an extension of that. But don't worry, if you haven't been involved in the Community of Practice, you can join these as a completely standalone event. So it's a chance to get to know as many different people as possible, increase your understanding of organisations that are working across Surrey with children and young people and their families, and hopefully give you the chance to continue some of those relationships after today's session. And Michaela is going to share some of her learning from the parents group that she runs, parent carer group that she runs, specifically thinking about supporting parents with children with neurodiverse needs. So I think I'm just going to hand over to Michaela now. I will spotlight you, Michaela, so that everyone can see who you are.
Lovely, thank you.
There we go.
And thanks everyone for diaries for everybody. So thank you so much. And as Debs has already shared, it's the first skill sharing event that Surrey Youth Focus have done. So it's really exciting to be able to start this journey. And we've already seen some connections happen in the breakout room we've had, which has been really lovely to see, which is one of the main parts of today. Can I move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. And then we can go one more. Perfect. Thank you so much. My name is Michaela Hussey. I'm the Children's Service Manager for some of the services that we run in Barnardo's. Barnardo's is probably a name that you're all very familiar with. You might have connections to sort of children's homes and things like that. It's a charity that's been running for over 150 years. Dr. Thomas Barnardo was born in 1845 and passed away in 1905, so long-standing charity. I think we're actually reaching about 153 years now. So yeah, we have over 800 services across the UK. We have over 9,000 employees and fastly approaching 17,000 volunteers that work with us across the whole of the UK. So I'm coming from a very teeny tiny part of Barnardo's. I've been with Barnardo's for 6 years, but obviously the information that I'll be sharing today is linked to the services that I run and support in Surrey. So it's not sort of generic across the whole of Barnardo's. Next slide, please, Deborah. Thank you so much. So one of the questions that was shared on your information slide for joining this event today was, what are some of the challenges that parent carers of neurodivergent children are facing? Now, we could probably spend the rest of the week, maybe even the rest of the month, sitting here discussing this kind of question. Obviously, really, really big question and could go into lots of different tangents and a lot of depth. So we're going to make it a lot smaller to cater for the half-an-hour window that we've got today. So if I could have the next slide, please. Some of the key challenges that I've written down here are some of the challenges that we see across the services that we run. Again, touching on what I've already said, these are the services that we work with in Surrey. I've got 4 services that are commissioned by the NHS. I've got 1 service that's commissioned by Surrey Wellbeing Partnership, and I have another service that's commissioned by Surrey County Council. There are 6 services in total, and 4 of them are working directly with parents, carers, or people who are going through a parenthood journey. So firstly, we have to be really sensitive around the parent and carers' own well-being, and this is not going to be news to you all. They're going through a really challenging time, whether you're parenting a young person that is displaying neurodivergent behaviours, or whether you're parenting a young person that is what we call neurotypical. It's a challenging time and it's a journey, and there are chapters that cause us obviously challenges throughout the parenthood journey. Time and space for support. That's already come up in one of our breakout rooms this morning, actually accessing the right support, what is right for them at that time of their journey in parenthood, and having the space to access that support. Something that I've already really loved that's been shared is having hybrid support that's being offered by somebody in the room, which is wonderful to hear. Finding the right support, what's right for them at this time. I've touched on that already. Meeting the needs of their children, whether that's one child that they're sort of needing support for in particular, or whether they've got multiple children at different stages of their parenthood journey that they need support for. Dealing with their young person's school or education, whether that is at home or in an establishment, or maybe they're currently experiencing that their young person can't attend school, all comes with their own problems, challenges and stresses for both parent and young person. And then obviously extends to doctor's appointments, and if the family or the young person are reaching an assessment stage, things like that. And then I'm sure lots of you are aware as well of the coexisting conditions that we see in our young people. So they might be showing behavioural traits of ADHD or autism, but on top of that, they might be experiencing a really anxious state or having trouble with sleep and eating difficulties. And we've already heard again in one of our breakout rooms about a dietitian who's on the call today. So that was nice to hear how they all interlink and create obviously many challenges for our parents and carers. So linking back to the question that I shared on the slide before, it's a massive question that goes off on many tangents, many branches. And so what I really love today is that we've got lots of people from different avenues of Surrey and how we can all come together and ultimately use this space to connect and get to know other people that are working with families, maybe in a different capacity to what we are. Thank you, Sue. We can go 2 more ahead. Thank you so much. So, like I said already, we've got services in my, out of my 6 services that I have, 4 of them work directly with parents and carers. Some are online, some of them are place-based, some of them are in school. And we make a really conscious effort to lean into supporting them and their own mental health and well-being whilst they're with us during the time that they're with us. And that might be just for the short time that they're in the group with us or the program, and it might be that they then refer back in and do another program with us. But by the time they're with us, we really need to support and lean into their own mental health and well-being, because it's a really stressful time for our parents and carers. I've written on the slide here some things that we do in our groups, and this is not going to be necessarily new to lots of you who are already out delivering groups, whether that's in your school or whether you are a community worker and you're going out and delivering groups. So wearing name badges for our parents and carers, really clear ones, not little cards in front of the desk, sort of nice big bright sticky notes with their names on, is really helpful for our practitioners and our parents and carers to really start to get to know who they're in a group with. One of the elements of group support is that you can't put a value on what they're getting as a group, whether that's online or in person. And actually lots of feedback that we've got is from groups in person, particularly in schools, is that they've met people that they didn't know at their child's school, for example. They've created friendships outside of the support that we're offering. And you can't put a price on that. It's really lovely to be able to facilitate these parents and carers making these connections with other parents and carers that are going through a similar stage in their young person's journey. So that's really important for us. We also invite parents and carers to share their young person's name and age at the beginning of the groups. And there's something that I really find very powerful, especially in the face-to-face groups that we do in schools, is sharing something that they love about their child's personality. And again, this might not necessarily be something new to you, but we find feedback from our parents and carers that when dealing with neurodivergent conditions, the support groups that are on offer are very negative or can feel very negative. And it's very much focused on what's causing you stress at the moment or what's causing you challenges at the moment. But we need to try really hard to flip the coin and really focus on the positives. So it's really wonderful when we share, we ask our parents and carers to share something they love about their child's personality. And sometimes it gets lots of conversations sparking in the room. We get children and young people that maybe have similar interests and things like that. So that's a really nice start to a course and really helps build the dynamic at the very beginning of the group. Thank you, Sue. Please can we move to the next slide? Wonderful. Hopes and fears. Now, I'm in the dark as to whether other organisations might do this. I'm hoping some other people might have heard of this sort of strategy before. We really value it at Barnardo's in our groups. So hopes and fears is something that we ask our parents and carers to share at the beginning of a group as well. And we normally lighten the blow by the practitioner sharing their hopes and fear at the beginning as well. So on the screen, you can see an example. I'm really hopeful that this space is going to be meaningful and you're going to achieve something from it and find hopefully maybe friendships out of it. And my fear is that I'm going to get stuck in traffic and get lost or not be able to get here on time. So we lighten it. We get our parents and carers to share this as we go around the room. It works online. It works in person as well. And hopefully it will break that ice. We're really understanding that obviously being in a group environment can be really daunting for lots of our parents and carers. Linking back to something that was already said earlier in this meeting, lots of our parents and carers might have their own neurodivergent needs as well, whether that's diagnosed or undiagnosed, and getting them to speak out in front of a group could be really daunting for them. But if we can create that really inclusive, safe space at the very beginning, it's really helpful for them to be able to then start to communicate throughout the rest of the time that they're with us. Sue and Rebecca, it looks okay your side. It's not just me with the magic technology.
No,
Perfect.
fine.
I think it looks good.
Fine, thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. Well, the group that I was in, we had some really engaging conversations. So I hope everyone felt the same way in their groups. And like I'd already said, and Deborah's already touched on, it's a really important opportunity to be able to mix with other colleagues and peers and professionals that we don't obviously usually get to talk to. And I've learned something new around an organisation that I didn't know about. So that was really, really helpful. Please do feel free to obviously take any thoughts and feelings around creating that really welcoming and engaging space for our parents and carers back to your teams. Maybe ask if you can bring it into a team meeting with you as well, because the conversations can keep going in your own organisations around how we can really create a welcoming space for our parents. We're going to move on to a slightly different angle of topic and communication now, and this is about building positive engagement with our parents and carers. Thank you, Sue. Next slide, please. Thank you. So goal-based outcomes in our face-to-face group and online. Some of you might be sort of nodding at the wording goal-based outcomes, especially our third sector organisation colleagues that might be in the room, those that are commissioned by certain avenues. Obviously, goal-based outcomes is really common. I've already understood that we've got quite a few members of the group that are from schools, some that I've heard that are offering some fantastic support in-house with their parents and carers. So if goal-based outcomes isn't something that you already do within your school, then this might be a really valuable sort of starting point for you to start questioning whether it might be something to implement within your groups in school. Thank you, Sue. Next slide, please. So goal-based outcomes are something that we do within my services. All 6 of my services offer goal-based outcomes to the attendees of the groups that we offer. 4 of them are directly linked to our parents and carers. There are lots of pros to goal-based outcomes, and I've written some on the screen here for you to see. So you can, they can be really thought-provoking for the parents. They can really sort of analyse how they feel at that moment in time, and it might be asking quite probing questions around their well-being, but also why are they reaching out for the support at the time that they are. It's really beneficial for us as practitioners to be able to see the journey for the parents from the starting point of your programme all the way through to the end, and in the hope that their goals will then increase as well over that time. Some organisations and some services might have the capacity for our parents and carers to create their own goals. And that's really powerful for our parents and carers to really evaluate what's the need for them at this moment in time, and what are they hoping to achieve from the time that they have with us, whether that's in school with the school practitioners, or if you're out in the community doing sessions with our parents and carers. Thank you, Sue. Next slide. These are all being sent round, so I'm not sort of just reading off the slide for you. You can read them at your own leisure, and like I've already said, maybe take them back to your own teams and discuss in a little bit more detail, should you wish to. There are cons to goal-based outcomes. It can be difficult to get a truthful answer, especially when we are asking some really sort of in-depth or sensitive questions. Our parents and carers might wish to sort of score themselves maybe a little bit higher. Are they having those questions on, oh my goodness, am I going to be judged if I score myself too low? Or where's this data going, and who's going to have access to the fact that I'm struggling at the moment? And we're going to talk about that in a little bit more in the next few slides. We might get some outliers in our data when we're dealing with goal-based outcomes. So we might find that some parents and carers have maybe not recognized the journey that they've gone on. Maybe they've just answered without really thinking about it in too much depth. Some goals, like I've already said, if parents and carers have the opportunity to create their own goals, are they achievable and manageable? And the example I've put on the screen there is you might be doing a 3-week intervention around employment. So this is obviously not necessarily neurodivergent related, but and one of the services that we do have in Barnardo's is once young people are out of the criminal justice system, it's getting them back into employment. And sometimes we see young people say within the 3-week period, they want to be back in sort of a full-time position. And that not necessarily is always going to be achievable for our young people. So it's really thinking about having practitioner support whilst they're creating their goals to make sure that the goals are achievable during the time we have with them. And breaking them down, maybe we need to chunk it up a little bit and the end goal might be in a few months' time. Thank you, Sue. Next slide, please. So understanding the meaning of our goal-based outcomes, us as professionals and practitioners, we grasp this concept quite well. I've already touched on the fact that our parents and carers might have their own neurodivergent needs, and this might be a really alien concept for them to be able to assess how they feel at the beginning of a course or program to then how they feel at the end. Next slide, please, Sue. Thank you. So key points to make. These are key points that I've just noted on the screen here that we share at a lot of our group support, and whether it's online or in person with our parents and carers. And we really take some time to ensure that our parents and carers in the group are really understanding why we're doing this, where has it come from? And obviously we could go down the route of, for myself and my services, I can go down the commissioning route and say it's needed to ensure that we're meeting the targets of our contract. And obviously that's a little bit boring for our parents and carers to understand that element of it. So we bring it back to what it means to them and why it's important for them to achieve, or at least answer truthfully around how they feel at the beginning, maybe during, and maybe at the end of their program that they're doing with us. We can explain that they're completely personal to them. Not every parent in the room are going to be feeling the same around their experience and their journey through parenthood. We keep them private. So this will be definitely sort of suited to each individual organisation, whether you are able to keep the goal-based outcomes completely anonymous. What we do in our services is we ask them to put their name on, but we explain to them that they are kept on their file only. When they are then sort of collated as a service goal-based outcome, they're completely anonymised. We give them the time and the space to really think about their scoring, and you'll see on the next few slides how we break it down. It's about making the most out of the support that's on offer, and the support that's on offer might meet some of their needs, but not necessarily all of their needs at that time. It's very likely that they might go on and get a referral to another third sector organisation, or maybe back into the NHS, or what it might look like for them. And so the journey, this is just a small chunk of their journey. Thank you, Sue. Next slide, please. So this is one of the questions that we ask in one of our services. How confident are you in the ability to manage your child's behaviour? And while I was creating the slides for this presentation, I was really thinking about that, and I was questioning myself. I was sort of taking my work hat off and thinking, how would I answer this if I was thinking about my own children? And I've circled some of the wording in there, how confident in your ability and the child's behaviour. And I was really thinking, this is actually a really, really difficult question to answer. How confident do I feel? Well, that depends how much sleep I've had the night before, and probably depends on whether I've eaten my breakfast or not that morning, is depending on how confident I'd feel parenting that morning. And my ability, we don't go on a parenting course to become A-star parents. It's very, it's not linear at all. It fluctuates, and it fluctuates through the age of our children and what chapter they're going through and what journey we're going through in our parenthood journey. And then our child's behaviour. Now, we probably all know how much that fluctuates as well, depending on, again, whether they've had the right snack in the morning or how much sleep they've had the night before. So really difficult question to answer, and we're asking our parents to answer this question potentially quite quickly at the beginning of our session, so that we can gauge how they're feeling at the beginning and how they're feeling at the end. So this is mainly just to highlight actually how much time we spend in Barnardo's in the services that we run on goal-based outcomes. We might even factor in sort of a good chunk of the first session, really getting the parents to understand. This is again linking back to the fact that we are very aware that lots of our parents and carers come with their own neurodivergent needs. So they might even need to take some time away from the group and work with you on a one-to-one to really understand what we're asking from them. Thank you, Sue. Next slide, please. breaking it down with examples. Now, I'm not, the writing is quite small. I've already said that these slides will come round, so please do take some time maybe to read these at your leisure sort of after the call. This is breaking down that question, and this is what we do in one of the services that we run. And we sort of really go into where will you sit on the scoring that we've just shared. There was a Likert scale of 1 to 10, and you need to assess how you feel and where you sit. The examples on the screen are linked to our young people maybe having sort of dysregulated behavior or meltdowns, as some people call it. And so we've given some examples around where you might sit. So I'll read a couple from number 1 and 2. So this would be if you're really struggling at the time. So your child is not in control of their emotions and feelings on a daily basis. Maybe doing everyday activities such as getting dressed or going to school are really challenging for the young person and the parent carer. And you can see it moves up all the way to 5. So you might score yourself at a 5 if these comments resonate with you. So your child is sometimes not in control of their emotions. Sometimes it's a barrier about going to school, so on and so forth. Next slide, please, Sue. And then we've got 7 to 8 and 9 to 10. And I argued with myself that actually any of us in the room as parents and practitioners, and maybe with the sort of knowledge that we have as practitioners, are we ever really at a 9 or 10? Our children's behaviour fluctuates so much, like I've already said, depending on what TV show they've watched that morning, for example. So are any of us ever really sitting at a 9 or a 10? So like I said, this is for you to maybe go away and read, maybe take it back to your organisation or team to discuss and think about if you don't currently do goal-based outcomes in any of the services that you run or any of the school support that you run, is it something that you'd like to maybe implement? And I'm not saying that you have to follow it to the T that I've just explained. It might be that you add your own twist to it to assess how your parents and carers are doing and how we're making sure that we're getting the most out of the support that we're offering our parents. Thank you, Sue.